Introduce Meredith first. The way we do this is each advisor introduces their advisee. Some people write things, I don't usually. I've known Meredith for quite some time, for like 4 or 5 years. And when I first met her, I just really enjoyed seeing her and talking to her because she's so full of life. And she's just so sweet. Even all throughout middle school when I've seen her, I just watch her do random acts of kindness, which just makes me happy. And like I see her talking to somebody or helping somebody out or helping a little 6th grade boy do something. And it's just, the kindness just really comes out in her. And it's so nice to have her as a part of our community. She's also an amazing athlete, and she's funny, and she works hard in school, and all those types of things too. But who she is, I think, is just one of the best things about Meredith, and I cannot wait to see where she goes and what she does in her future. I'm sure it'll be fantastic. So.
You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. C.S. Lewis. I chose this quote as the theme of my project because I've had a lot of personal growth experiences from starting over where I was. No one is amazing at something the second they started. Everyone makes mistakes. Sometimes you wish you could go back to the beginning and start over, but you can't. Changing the outcome instead of climbing up the past has made me who I am today. I started playing lacrosse when I was in 6th grade. When I joined the team, it was just to have some fun with my friends. So of course, we would group off and talk for more than half the practice. Before lacrosse, we would hang out in the locker rooms till right before it was time to go, almost being late. When things got difficult, I would drop my stick. I would sit down when I was tired. I didn't think of lacrosse as a real sport, just another way to hang out with my friends. Later that year, one of my friends got me to come to a practice outside of school with a club team. When we were there, I met Coach Pat. Coach Pat and my friend both got me to join the club lacrosse team he coached that summer. I really thought I was something on that team. Even though I wasn't the best, I was proud of myself. But right when the lacrosse season ended, I stopped practicing. I didn't pick up my stick for a couple months. I barely thought about lacrosse. Then when the club team season came back around, I was a little rusty, but I still played well. All throughout the season, every year, I just got along with what we did in practice, not trying, not really caring. But I remember at the end of the 7th grade season, I overheard my club team coach talking to one of my teammates about going D1 lacrosse. This changed my mindset from lacrosse, for being lazy and just trying to get by, to being eager for practices and getting home from lacrosse just to practice more by myself. He named things my teammate was doing well that I hadn't even heard of. Club lacrosse goes through the summer up until February, when the school team season starts. At every lacrosse practice from then on, even if no one knew it, I loved it. Practicing with my team, shopping, Chuck, Chicago, and Indy. One of my best friends, Mimi, has been on the team for me since day one, which makes practices even more special. We all learned a lot from each other and about each other. It was a much more fun environment when I actually showed that I wanted to be there. I couldn't go back to 6th grade when I started lacrosse. I couldn't tell myself that I was going to love lacrosse, and I needed to be passionate from the start. I couldn't tell myself to stop talking and just pick up my lacrosse stick. But I can start trying harder, working out more, and doing more training. I can change the outcome of how I play today. I can change how I practice today. I can change my mindset today. It's never too late because you always have today. In 4th grade, I came to collegiate from St. Mark Mary. I had been there since kindergarten, and of course it tore me to have to change schools, leaving all my friends behind. My parents believed I'd have a better education at collegiate, and I didn't understand then, but believe me, they were right. My first year here in 4th grade, I remember having Miss Patrick as my teacher. She was amazing. Miss Patrick made my transition smooth and easy. But one thing I immensely struggled with was math. I remember the first day of math class, we were all silently working on what we had just practiced as a class, and it was not connecting for me. I didn't know how to ask questions. I looked around and see all my classmates smiling, writing vigorously, but I did not have one thing written down. I stared blankly at the paper in front of me, my vision blurring from tears. My sweatshirt suddenly feeling hot and heavier. I ran out of class. The next thing I knew, I was in the bathroom crying until Miss Patrick realized what had happened. If you had been Miss Patrick or one of my classmates, I know it would not have looked like I needed help, but I can't explain to you how dumb I felt. Collegiate math was much more advanced than anything I'd ever done in my old schools. That year, I ran out of the room more times than I stayed during math. It was a big struggle for me, and I knew it. In 5th grade, I had Miss Beasley, and she knew about the prior year, so she let me stay after school on certain days and practice with her. Of course, that was extremely helpful, but it still felt like the walls were closing in during math class. In 6th grade, I was finally a part of the middle school, and they had a program called CLA. I was in CLA during study hall. I took tests and quizzes and got extra help from my teachers there. I had Miss Bowling as my math teacher, and Miss Beasley was still letting me go all the way in the lower school at the end of the day to practice. I was receiving so much help from my teachers. I was definitely improving, and things weren't so bad in math class. But of course, right as things were looking up, COVID hit in the middle of 6th grade. I was excited for a new year when 7th grade came. A fresh start, seeing my friends, I had my backpack packed and my locker decorations bought 2 months before 7th grade. When I found out we were online, I set the tone for the rest of the year. Lazy, careless, and slow. I did my math homework in the Zoom classes and I watched TV during the lectures. I didn't try and it showed. When 7th grade was over, I'd never been happier. I'd forgotten about school. When this year came and we were back in person and I was actually feet away from my math teacher, not miles away, it forced me to be present. I remembered everything I learned from CLA, the help I got from teachers and all the extra work I did, everything I had forgotten about and pushed down during summer and online. Now I'm not saying I'm some math genius, but at least I haven't cried math class in a while. Math is still hard, but I'm out of CLA, I'm done with tutoring, and I'm far more independent with my homework. Sometimes I ask a question or two of my teachers, but I'm not at the kitchen table with my mom till 11 anymore. I wish I could have been a collegiate from day one, gotten the extra help in the beginning, and have been able to keep up with my classmates from the start. But I didn't. I can't change that fact, but what I can and did do is advocate for myself. I know how much it's going to be worth in the long run when these basic skills and formulas come back up in high school and college. Believe me, I'm ready. This stuff is cemented in my brain over and over about 1,000 times. I'm so grateful to be a collegiate and to have gotten the help I needed. The summer of 2020 is not a summer I'd like to talk about. That was when COVID was at its peak and I didn't have anywhere to go. I couldn't see my friends, I couldn't go to the pool, I couldn't travel, so it was just on hot days spent alone. Now you see why I want to keep that summer to myself. But I did do a lot of personal growth. There's one specific thing I did that summer that helped me get through the boredom. I decided to start a dog treat business. It was an upgrade from a lemonade stand, and I spent a lot of hours in the basement kitchen. I made flyers with my name, number, and a little description of what I was doing. I made sample dog treats and put them in some brown paper bags with the flyers. I left the bags on people's doorsteps and ran away like Dingo and Ditching with presents. After a couple days went by, I made close to $100. I didn't realize then, but putting crumpled, damp, brown paper bags on people's doorsteps is not a good business approach. But you learn from your mistakes, so I switched to cardboard boxes. I burned my arm in the oven when I was getting the treats out, so I doubled the mitts. I lost track of who we were what, so I started writing it down instead of awkwardly calling people back. I met a lot of new people in the neighborhood. One nice lady even wanted to make cake with me sometime. I hand-delivered each box, so this greatly increased my social skills. I remember the first time I had to deliver a bag, I sat in the car for 5 minutes and mentally preparing myself to ring the doorbell. But by the last couple orders, I was biking up there alone, eager to talk to everyone. I've spent so much time in this business and I don't regret it. I've made about $600 in the past 2 summers and Christmas. Of course, I wish COVID didn't happen, but I couldn't have done anything to keep COVID from hitting. So instead of watching Netflix all summer, I found a new hobby, learned new skills, and acquired some important life lessons. I've written this out about 1 million times. Poems, stories, songs, letters. Any different form of writing to express how I was feeling. But I always just crumpled up the paper and deleted through Google Doc. This is a big part of who I am, so I'm not going to erase my words anymore. My family and I used to live in Memphis, Tennessee. That's where I was born. My older brother Trevor met a boy named Dylan at the school where Trevor and I went to, called New Hope Academy. Dylan came home with us for dinner occasionally, and over time he started living with us. When Dylan started living with us in Memphis, I was 2 years old. His dad was in jail and his mom was struggling with a drug addiction. When I was 5 years old, my family moved here to Louisville, Kentucky for my dad's work. Dylan stayed in Memphis with his real family, but shortly after we were moved in, Dylan came back to live with us. He was 15 years old when he moved back in with us in Louisville. His dad was still in jail and his mom was still struggling with the drug addiction. He was a part of our family 100%. Dylan was in all our Christmas photos, at the Thanksgiving dinner table, in church every week and helping us clear the table. I remember at one of my lower school plays, he came to watch with the rest of the family and brought me a blue and white puppy stuffed animal. I loved that dog more than anything. I knew he didn't bark, but that dog still meant so much to me. Recently, I used to chase Dylan around the house until he would lock himself in his room. I would still try to pick the lock to keep the fun lasting. He was always so protective of me, changing the show he was watching when I walked in if he thought it was inappropriate for me, even just those 2 seconds of me walking past the TV. He never left me out. Even at the pool, when he was shooting basketball with his friends, he would pick me up in the water so I could dunk the ball. I went to every single basketball and football game he had at St. Nick's. I always thought of myself as his biggest fan. That's why I wasn't prepared when my parents read me a text of his. I was sitting on the red couch upstairs with Trevor and Maurice. It was late at night in 2018. I was looking at my brothers on their phones, wondering what on there was more important than the TV show we were watching. My parents called for me to come downstairs. I passed the Christmas tree with Dylan's presents still wrapped underneath. The pretty red and green colors of the wrapping paper catching my eye. I couldn't wait to see Dylan tomorrow, hear about everything that had happened. It felt like he had been visiting his family for years, even though it had only been a couple days. I got a little sad when I remembered I didn't get to say goodbye when he left. I sat on the couch next to my mom, and the light from her phone was illuminating a sorrowful look on her face. Her eyes were puffy and watery. My dad's looked the same. I saw she had text messages open on her phone, but I couldn't see who she was texting. My smile started to fade as she told me that Dylan had texted. She explained while holding Dad's hand that Dylan texted he wasn't coming back. My tears came so fast I couldn't stand up without stumbling. I ran past Dylan's unopened Christmas presents. I touched the wall on the way up the stairs, the same wall Dylan used to touch. I ran past the couch in the spot that used to be his favorite spot to sit on. Past the room where we used to play Nerf basketball together. I ran into my room screaming with pain, but it wasn't a pain on my body. It was an internal pain, like words being burnt in my heart, words that would never leave me. The words, "I'm not coming back." I miss him with all my heart and still cry about him leaving, but as much as I would like to change the events of the past, I simply cannot. I continue to stay connected with Dylan. I didn't shut him out, even though his decision left me confused and angry. As I shared this story 3 years later, Dylan and I have remained close, and he has not forgotten about our family's ongoing love for him. I would like to dedicate this speech to Miss Beasley. She tutored me for 2 years, and she was my 5th grade math teacher. She recommended to help me. We didn't have to reach out to her, and she continued to help me even when I wasn't in her class anymore. So my mom, she was always there for me. She's always there for me. And to be completely honest, my mom's one of my best friends. Running around at Target, ran on ice cream runs at night, drinking coffee together in the morning, laughing about how cold and tired we are because it's 5:30 a.m. To my dad, even though he never had sisters and is confused by me sometimes, he always tries to understand. I love it when we watch Wicked Tuna and football games together. And he's the only one who holds up when we're having dumb arguments that I love, even about random stuff like ice cream proportions. This quote works so perfectly with my life experiences when I found that I couldn't believe it. I know that if I don't like how something is going, I can always change it. I don't need a time machine, I just need perseverance and a positive mindset. You can't say, why did I join this advanced math class? I hate it, because you can just leave it. You can't say, why is my bed in this corner of the room? It's ugly. Just move it. If you want something badly enough, you can get it. You can change so many things in just one day. So my question for you is, what in your life can you change today?